Imagine being institutionalized at the age of 3 years old. Imagine being there because your parents thought you had a learning disability. At the young age of 3, Willie B. Ross was forcibly placed in the questionable care of the staff of Forrest Haven Asylum in Laurel, Maryland. Without schooling and proper guardians, young Willie didn't learn communication skills. The poor boy could hardly speak at all. Children learn through interactions, love, and schooling. In this case, Willie received none of this. He was only met with abuse and neglect. In a series of 22 buildings on a 200-acre plot, thousands of unfortunate patients were housed here. The tormented screams and cries of one young boy were likely drowned out by 1,000 more just like it, echoing the cold stone walls. How would the orderlies deal with the agony? Only meeting it with more torment. Very few patients had the privilege of going outside or even exercising. Most were strapped to their beds, with the only human interaction being once a day while being force-fed. With over 400 deaths from neglect, torturous treatment methods, and even murder, it's no question why the asylum had its doors permanently closed. The real question is how they covered up all the wrongful deaths. Quick answer is an overflowing underground hidden morgue and 20 acres of shallow graves.
Hello there, friends, and welcome to the Paranormal Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jake.
And we are so glad to have you with us tonight as we talk about the absolute worst insane asylum just ever. The Farm Haven Asylum in
Forrest
Haven, my bad. Asylum in Maryland. So,
yeah. Now, before we get into this, happy fucking Mother's Day, everyone.
Even though that was yesterday when this comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we're time travelers, bud.
Yeah, time travelers. To all the mamas out there, thank you. And a special one to mine, even though I'm not going to let her listen to this episode because I said fuck.
Well, all right then.
And if you learn how to use the Spotify, I'm so sorry for swearing, mama. All right. So, I mentioned young Willie in the intro to this. He was institutionalized at wait, everyone.
Yeah, we got a thing to do here.
Huge fucking disclaimer. Like, there is bad stuff. There is abuse, neglect, all sorts of kinds of abuse, including sexual stuff, and it gets pretty bloody too. So
yeah, if that bothers any of you, then we will not hold it against you to just come back next week when things are not quite as dark.
Yeah, we're gonna need some happy, fun episodes after this one, but I came across this episode. Thank you to Adonis for pointing this one out for me, but I wish you would have gave me a disclaimer because it gets bad. So whoever doesn't want to hear about some bad shit,
yeah, come back next week, guys.
Yeah, government let all this happen when this asylum was going. So all right, now back to Willie. Okay, so 3 years old, his parents decided that he had a learning disability at 3 years old.
I'm pretty sure at 3 years old, you just have, like, you're just learning how to learn stuff.
Exactly.
Like, my God.
You got a little bit of talking under your belt. You got a little bit of walking. That's it. Like,
that's like you just
you're a toddler.
You just figure out you're a person, like, at 3.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you might still be crawling around thinking of your dog. Who knows? You're a kid.
People suck.
Yeah. So Willie, he never got the chance to learn like what love was, like people loving him loving people. He was always treated not even as a patient, more of an inmate. And so what happened to Willie is he was basically strapped to a bed his entire life with not even every day, but they would let him move around his room, and after a little while he couldn't even walk. He would just crawl around his room. After a while, when bed sores started being a thing, he was too sore to move around, and I think that was at age 6. And he lived another he lived until 26 years old, and with many, many, many health complications. The final cause of death was I think it's called isolated pneumonia. That's where you're force fed when you're lying on your back and the food drops into your lungs and you basically suffocate.
Asphyxiation pneumonia.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Well, yeah. So that's how he died, along with many others.
Yeah, that was a pretty
Which,
common cause of death at that place, from what I understand.
yes, yeah. So that's what happened to Willie, and there was nothing on his parents like fighting to see him. Basically, he had no interactions other than fucking terrible orderlies.
So his poor kid was just dumped.
Yeah, yeah. He lost the ability to speak. He lost the ability to walk, move. He was just bedridden from just the worst neglect. He
Thanks, I
didn't
hate
even,
it.
yeah, he never got a chance to live. And
I hate it, and I know it's only getting worse from here.
oh, it gets so much worse, Ben. So I'm gonna give a little bit of boomage here. So the United States is littered with abandoned structures, some of which are completely forgotten, lost. Their bones of brick and wood jut out of the earth, only to be studied quizzically with curious eyes for a couple of moments and then forgotten again. Other structures are carefully curated and preserved, neatly labeled and slowly doomed to fade under endless eyes. Continuing to stand strong through weather and decay, not George Decay. Decay, like an obscene gesture from the past. These places are still alive with the pulse of yesterday's horrors. I was kind of proud of writing that.
That sounds pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
Very poetic.
Thanks. I'm working on haikus, actually. So, in a corner of Laurel, Maryland, just a quick drive from Washington, D.C., hides a 200 plus acre property wrapped up inside a thick forest. You can find a vast compound of peeling paint, the smell of rot, and at least a few decades of vandalism and graffiti. Not to mention the decaying medical equipment and slowly disintegrating patient records. You may be asking yourself what went down here. Well, it's complicated and messy. So, again, at this point, I'm going to issue a warning that this story isn't for everyone. So, to kick things off, I think it opened in 1925, and how they opened it was actually, well, it says right here. It was with us.
They used the door handle, and they opened it.
Scissors.
Scissors.
Big scissors.
The big giant scissors.
Yeah. That's how every place is opened.
I want to know where they get them big scissors. Anyway, go ahead.
The Big Scissor Company.
Big
Duh.
scissor store, duh. Staples, they got that.
You're gonna want to cut this out, but lesbians.
Might leave that in.
Okay, fair enough. All right. It was with the spirit of progressive optimism that Forest Haven Asylum opened their doors in 1925. The new facility was built to provide a more enlightened approach to mental health care. The hope was that the patients wouldn't feel judged or punished for their condition in this place. On the contrary, in fact, those admitted into the asylum would be welcomed as valued contributors to a thriving farming community where they'd have a chance to feel valued and included while receiving cutting edge treatments. As most businesses and treatment centers do, they followed the original plan and goal for the asylum. From 1925 through 1960, treatments were going great for the patients. They had a lot of time outside, learning life skills, including farming and even milking clowns, milking cows.
Clown milk.
Yeah. Wonder what color it is.
That's a whole different website, buddy.
Oh, goodness. All right. Skilled and caring doctors and other professionals took time with each and every patient there to know what kind of treatment they could use. Though a few of the treatments were unpleasant, they existed but were rarely used. They treated mainly with kindness and compassion. Everything was great, that is, until the money started running out. They started taking in more patients for inhumane reasons, and in the 1960s, the Forest Haven Asylum became a living hell.
So that tends to be the story with a lot of these asylums you hear, is that they
Yeah.
start off well-meaning places,
Yeah.
but then money runs out, they get overcrowded, the staff can't handle it, and it goes to shit.
Yeah. Like the Traverse City Asylum that I did.
Yeah.
State Hospital. That started out a wonderful thing. But
Still never got this bad though.
oh, not anywhere near this bad. I think we came across like 18 deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has trumped that by far. So, right around the 1860s, an orphanage that was kitty corner to the asylum closed down, and 20 plus children
You
were
mean
forced.
you meant 1960s.
What did I say?
You said 1860s.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant. 1960s. An orphanage closed down, and 20 plus children were forced to live at the asylum. Nothing wrong with them.
That is not a place for kids to go.
Right. Oh, oh, Benjamin, you just wait.
I know, foreshadowing.
Yes. But yeah, so their disability or whatever was that they were orphans. That is why they were there.
Yeah, I like this less and less and less.
It's shit, Ben. Okay. So let's get into the 1960s of why this place was such shit. So in the 1960s, when the money started running out, skilled practitioners, not practitioners and care providers left due to budget cuts. One by one, wholesome recreational activities were cut, such as farming, milking, and outdoor activities in general. So when I was reading this, they wanted a lot of the time for the patients to be outside, interacting with one another, interacting with farm life.
Trying to learn how to live in a society.
Yeah. And it helped a lot of people.
Mhm.
It wasn't you get institutionalized and you're there until you die. It was they're getting you better, which is what they do now. They want you to interact with each other.
Right. And
So
they try
life
to
is
teach you how to
easy.
live in a society so that you can be sent back into society and be a successful human being.
Yeah. Now in the 1960s, they took on they took on so many more patients. Like one article I read, it was right around 2,000 people and 22 buildings, which is a shitload.
Yeah, that's too many. That's way too
Yeah.
many.
So complete overcrowding. Um, they needed to keep an eye on the patients, so they stopped letting them go outside and interact. The only interaction they got is the people they had to share the cramped little room with. There were even more and more people there. I read something, there was up to 10 people in a padded cell. Padded cells are small and they are not for more than one person.
Ugh.
Yeah, padded cells are because people are a danger.
Yeah,
So,
they're tiny little rooms. You got like enough room to lay down in it, and that's about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so the fact that they're putting 10 quote unquote dangerous patients in here, even if one is dangerous, you're just asking for, at the very least, some savage beatings.
Yeah, it's literally a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the facility basically went from being a utopia to a quote place of disposal for the troubled, unwanted, and misdiagnosed, end quote. Um, the lack of workers and resources came with the lack of workers and resources came neglect, and neglect morphed into blatant abuse. So we already know that kids at the age of 3 could be here.
Ugh.
Now get ready for this, Benjamin. They had, I don't even want to say cribs, but they had like 60 beds for even newborns, and not just newborns that were like had there, shitty parents who decide their newborn needed to be institutionalized.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And basically, if you got sent there from that early of an age, it was just a death sentence.
That's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, like, first off, with no good professionals there, no one with a fucking heart, they not only did the cry it out method, but it was blatant
Neglect.
ignoring. Yeah. Just ignore them. And many, many babies died.
Oof.
Yeah. As well as small kids, like small kids can't take care of themselves, especially in a shithole like this. Um, you were only fed once a day, and a lot of people would lose their will to continue eating, to continue doing anything. They wouldn't, they didn't even have bathrooms. They basically had to pick a corner. And after a while they fucking gave up on that, just laid, never moved, and that causes so many health issues. The fact that they couldn't go outside, like the sun itself is something that helps with your mental health. Being locked,
Mental and physical. I mean,
yes, yeah,
yeah, I'm like just at a loss for words for how fucked up that is.
yeah. I have it in writing, and I don't even know what to say.
I mean, like not even just to have, having adults in that sort of condition is fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to have kids and babies, and
yeah.
I'm not going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah. So, um, the doctors, huge fucking quote there,
Yeah, no
quote
shit.
unquote. Um, Apparently, many were deemed medically incompetent by the state of Maryland.
Oh, no shit.
They left the patients to languish in cells in complete isolation. So, when they did get alone time, that is all they got. No light. It was just darkness, complete isolation. It was, if you don't get to use your five senses, minus like being born blind or deaf, whatever, you're you will lose what sanity you have if you don't get to listen, see, touch anything but a fucking wall. Like the people in these isolation wards didn't have beds, didn't have bathrooms. 9 times out of 10, they didn't have clothing.
If you put a perfectly, you know, mentally healthy, physically healthy individual in a situation like that, it would cause them problems.
They will lose their fucking mind.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There are some times when I think a nice trip to an isolation chamber might be nice.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
not prolonged.
get away from the kids and the wife for a minute. But no, in prolonged circumstances, it will cause you to have mental issues.
Yeah,
You know, not and if you already have mental health issues,
it's just gonna pile them on.
woof.
Yeah, so not even being able to interact with people, it will.
Yeah, it'll
Oh,
fuck with you.
what do they call that? It's some disorder. Hear about it a lot with those true crime podcasts. Uh, I'll think of it. But you're gonna get disabilities just from that, like minus the fucking abuse that they were getting, even without that.
Right.
But they unfortunately did get abused when they came out, and like a lot of them were just fucking thrilled to come out, even if it meant just going back to getting beat and abused.
Which speaks to the effect that isolation can have on a human being.
Yeah,
Like, we're social by our very nature.
I know there's not a whole lot of truth to this one, but one of my favorite fucking creepy pastas is the Russian sleep experiment.
Yeah, it is a creepy one.
Yeah, and like even if that particular story isn't true, they have done tests like that, and I've read about tests they've done like that where like they just isolate a group of people or at least one person, and all all of them had lasting mental issues, like
Mm-hmm.
shit that you can't fix.
Yeah, you don't come out of that right.
Right. So you're gonna love this part, Ben.
Oh, here we
And
go.
by love it, you're gonna fucking hate it. Naked patients were paraded outside by orderlies to be hosed as punishment, and not just like a fucking garden hose, like a fire hose, enough to peel skin off of them.
Yeah.
With the bed sores that they
Oh,
already have, their skin is just coming right off.
dude.
Yeah.
These people were fucked up.
Yeah. And punishment could have been from anything from like throwing up when they're getting force fed to talking back to annoying the orderlies. They would beat, they would hose them. Yeah. So hydrotherapy, shock therapy, isolation, padded cells, starvation, being strapped to beds and walls, lobotomies, and even beating the patients became a very common practice.
Those are all things that are we either A, do not do, or B, are so exceptionally rare to do now that you might as well say we don't do them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of them are a fucking crime now.
The only one I know of that is still practiced is electroshock therapy, but it's not the same type of thing as it
Oh,
was back then.
not at all.
You know, when you go in now, you're anesthetized so that you're sleeping through the whole thing, and it's not nearly like the voltage. There's no lasting damage physically or anything from it. Like,
Right,
and it's pretty rare fucking thing.
this one is like the electrodes on your temples,
Mm-hmm.
just fucking frying your brain. Um, so without even needing to say, so many patients died. Known records don't exist for all of them, but they know it was at least over 400.
That's in from what years to what years, roughly?
60 to 91.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, there was a couple of deaths um when it first opened. I mean, like diseases were a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I
And
mean, any type of institution like that. I mean, like prisons or mental health institutions or just regular hospitals,
yeah,
whatever.
even hospitals,
People die.
there will be deaths.
There's not always nefarious reasons for it. People get sick, they die, they have heart conditions or
Weakened immune
diabetic
systems.
issues, weakened immune system,
Yeah.
what have you.
Epilepsy, that was another thing that people had in
Mm-hmm.
here.
Well, yeah, when you electrify their brain enough times, they become epileptic.
No shit. So
But 400 in a 30-year period.
over 400.
Over and at least over 400. Yeah, like
Yeah,
400 over a little over 400 is like our minimum number.
right. One of the things that I read that I don't know if I can believe, but like I'm just trying to stick with the facts.
Mm-hmm.
But something I read said it could be over 1200, which wouldn't surprise me with the shit that was going on here.
Yeah, well, you got to figure odds are when they say over 400 people, they're probably not counting like the infants and toddlers that were just chucked in there. You know what I mean? They probably don't even count those.
No,
it
was, yeah, I mean, newborns, they don't even have a name.
right. So yeah,
how
those there could have been hundreds of those that weren't.
Yeah. So hopefully you're not, but how do they cover up all these murders? You might be asking.
Jacob, how are they covering up all of these murders?
You're a sick son of a bitch. I can't believe you asked that. Okay. So dead patients were hastily buried in shallow graves or thrown into the basement morgue. Their shallow grave, it was actually a mass grave.
Well, of course it was.
Yeah. I'm gonna get more into that, I think, on my next page of notes, but yeah, let's keep moving on. Now people are gonna love this. Here's a little bit of karma. Little bit. In February 1976, the parents of 18-year-old patient Joy Evans brought a class action lawsuit against Forrest Haven Asylum. Joy had died in the big fucking quotes care of the facility with horrific neglect injuries she sustained over months of prolonged mistreatment. Now, her mistreatments, what I read is she, for one, did not get to leave her bed. She was strapped there. Um, but she got bed sores after months of not being able to move, not being able to get up to use the bathroom.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And the stuff that comes out of your body is toxic. So that infected the bed sores,
mm-hmm.
and she just became completely infected. Like there's probably more infection than healthy.
Ugh.
Yeah. Um so what happened is 2 years, this was in courts, 1976. 2 years this
That's
was in,
when the lawsuit was filed.
yes.
Okay.
2 years in court, the case was settled, and part of the ruling determined that Forest Haven Asylum should shut its doors permanently, and its patients were to be moved to a more capable, humane facility.
I would agree with that.
Now, justice is served, right?
Oh no, hell no.
Oh, very no. Somehow, 8 years passed, and the asylum inexplicably continued to operate with little outside interference. It was only in the mid 80s that a spate of deaths brought on by pneumonia, the same pneumonia we talked about
Yeah.
earlier.
The asphyxiation pneumonia.
Yes, it brought the neglect back into the public's gaze. The pneumonia was caused by the staff force feeding the patients while restrained in a lying position, and this caused the food to enter the lungs, essentially suffocating them. Finally, in 1991, the asylum was forced to close with over 400 bodies in a mass grave under one headstone.
That's just, yeah, as if you didn't do enough damage to him in life. Just, ugh.
One headstone.
Yeah, just mass grave, no respect, no, no acknowledgement that these were human beings.
Yeah, I couldn't even find that the headstone said anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
These people
And
fucking sucked.
yeah, absolutely. They said the entire death known or death toll will unlikely ever be known, which I don't see that happening.
No, probably not.
All right. Now, with what we specialize in, the hauntings of the Forest Haven Asylum. All I could find is videos of self-proclaimed ghost hunters and the little bit of history they know. And I kind of pulled up everything they said, which I don't have a whole lot of knowledge. I don't want to say knowledge, details. I don't really have a whole lot of details about where all this happens in the 22 buildings,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just going to say what people have experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first off is an unreal amount of different apparitions. There's people say they'll see nurses, they'll see children, they'll see people walking in straitjackets, they'll see Civil War fight, Civil War people. See, just like I said, an unreal amount.
Just a little bit of everything in there, which it wouldn't surprise me if that place was haunted as fuck.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because you had that much just bad mojo to a
Yeah.
place, and you're bound to do something.
Yeah. I just gotta say, I really hope those awful workers got what was coming to them.
Yeah, for sure.
So, next, what people experience is disembodied voices, screaming, and begging for help or mercy.
I could imagine that too.
So the begging and crying and screaming and stuff, they say it happens the most in what they called the doctor's office there,
Mm-hmm.
which it was a dental chair with restraints.
Mm.
There was also a table with restraints. Um, Someone said that they found medical equipment was a saw.
What? Oh boy.
Yeah, not a power saw either.
So somebody was using that as like a fucking mad scientist human experimentation lab and just getting away with it.
Yeah, so like
Ugh.
what I was thinking about with the quote unquote treatments here is like the movie Misery, where he tries to run away and she hobbles him.
Oh, only much, much worse.
Right. So like people who don't know what hobbling is, basically you stick like a 2x4 or 4x4 in between your legs when they're straight out long ways so that it's, and you take a sledgehammer and you break each ankle in half. So walking isn't a thing anymore. But yeah, people will say that the medical tools were used for lobotomies, or used for amputations for patients trying to run away. Um, just gross stuff.
Yeah, stuff that you shouldn't be doing in a mental health facility.
Yeah, health needs to be taken out of that.
Like, wow.
Yeah. The voices, people will hear voices and footsteps, like they'll be walking down a hallway and just they'll hear someone and then run away, but they never, from what I saw, they never hear what the voice actually says. It just sounds like muttering and then running away. um
Hmm.
Cold spots. Apparently, there are more cold spots in this place than normal atmosphere. There's, say, you can't take two steps without running into a cold spot. And like, I understand drafts are a thing and like that, but just having bubbles everywhere of cold spots,
Yeah, that can be a little weird.
yeah. Um, it's a great one. Sounds of running water and people drowning.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So, um, the hydrotherapy and the hoses that I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt that one bit. I
I
mean,
so beyond the fact that there really is not a lot of, report and documentation of hauntings there.
right.
There's some reason for that, which is that pretty much since the place is closed down, it's been under security,
Yep.
like fairly heavy security. Unlike, like your Waverly or your Pennsylvania State Hospital or Traverse City, they do not open it up to the public at all.
Right.
It's you can get in there by very special permissions, but I didn't see where any of your bigger paranormal groups had been in there.
No. No, there's no big paranormal
And
groups.
if
There's
anybody's going to get in there and ghost hunt, it would be,
the
some of
big,
those guys.
yeah. Um, no, from what I was reading and watching, there's this hopefully I don't ruin this for anyone, but there's this hidden path by oh, what building was it? I think it was the doctor's office building.
Mm-hmm.
There's a path going through the woods, and then you got to climb a fence.
Mm-hmm.
But it is
So you got to break in, more or less.
right. It's very thick forest. So like,
But despite the fact that, you don't get a lot out of there, nothing to corroborate one story to the next or what have you, with as much hands down evil shit that was done there, I wouldn't put it past that place to have whatever kinds of noises and, apparitions and shadows and slamming doors and whatever you want, like, I mean, obviously I can't say it's true because I've never seen it, but
right.
it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, is the best I can say for it,
This one I did actually see in a video, and I think it was a little too low quality for it to be like smidged with.
Mm,
So scratches in brick and concrete appear out of nowhere. Um, as this little group was walking, it sounded like four people, but you only
mm,
see two people in it. Um, one of them says something, they found something, and like the light goes down, and you see just this long ass scratch mark going deep into this
mm,
concrete is just forming as they're looking at it,
mm.
which I don't want to take a guess on why that would be, other than or at least just dragging people around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this one was messed up to hear. The video that I watched, the people said that they experienced this twice, and I didn't see it in the video, but it's what they said. Faces stuck in torment have been sighted in windows, still remaining there.
Yeah, again, wouldn't surprise me. Like,
Yeah. Um, padded cells in one of the buildings will actually change before your eyes. The pads will regain their original color, and medical equipment will appear and disappear. Um,
I,
one, go ahead.
I'm not never going there.
I want to go there, but I also don't want to go there.
I do not want to go there. There are a lot of the places that we talk about, like, and will talk about that. Yeah, you want to go? I'm down. Traverse City, the Hinsdale House, whatever. I'm down. Let's go. That place, I want nothing to do with that place.
Yeah, there's
This
got to be evil shit there.
It's just giving me the
Anger.
yuckies, man.
Yeah. Lastly, one ghost hunting team actually claimed that one of their members became possessed after acquiring a ghostly scratch from absolutely nothing. And in the video, the girl's acting real weird. Um, and it sounds like she's speaking backwards.
That's not fun.
Yeah, so I mean, from all the movies and like articles I read, they say evil feeds off of torment, fear, all the terrible stuff that they were
Mm-hmm.
doing there. So it wouldn't surprise me that like that could be a like demonic playground there.
I mean, I can't speak to that one way or the other, but for sure, if you put that much harm into a place,
Yeah.
it's going to have an effect. I mean, that, you know,
Yeah.
like if you believe any of the things we talk about, that's one thing that I'm pretty sure we can all agree on.
Yeah. A guy who lives fairly close to it, like within 150 yards. Um,
Nope.
yeah,
I'd sell that fucking house.
he people ask him like, what do you think of all the people trespassing and stuff? He said, whether they're in it or not, the place needs to be bulldozed. There's
Yeah.
nothing but evil there.
Yep. Oh man, I would sell that house so goddamn fast.
Good luck selling it.
Fuck it, I'd give it away.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
it. Take it.
I would probably arson a little bit.
Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got on this terrible story.
Well, I'd say thanks, Jake, but no. Fuck you, Jacob. Fuck you
Fuck you, Adonis.
for the bad. Yeah, and you too, Adonis. Ugh. No, it is it's fascinating and horrible all at the same time. Like the history of what was allowed to go on with mental health,
and what was just
like, oh my god, it's disgusting.
Yes.
And we can only hope that we have learned from our past and can move forward better.
I can say firsthand that we have learned from that, and now mental health places are strictly for treatment and your betterment
and not torture.
Right.
So I guess we found the silver lining in the episode after all, my friend.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess it's time to say goodnight.
Good night. Hopefully you get some sleep, guys.
Before we gross anybody else out. Yeah. All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed a little walk in some real yucky history.
Yeah.
I promise we'll come back next week with something a little bit less dark and gross.
Fucked. Yeah. Applause if you made it through the episode, and if you're listening to this and thinking you should never listen to this podcast again, this was a one time thing. I don't like doing this kind of stuff, guys.
When you look into stuff like we do, every now and then you just run into the darkness of human history. Yeah, we try to stay on the fun side, but hey, now and then, and it really happened.
It did.
And like I said, I feel like it is important that we acknowledge that it happened, because that's the only way that we can never repeat those mistakes. So yeah. So with that, we'll say good night.
Good night, guys. Happy Mother's Day.